Well, hello, everybody. This is your girl, Ericka from the Classy Climb blog. We are coming here in on a cold Carolina night, y'all. Listen, I don't know where it happened, but the snowman came and brought some snow over here. But I had to talk to you about Bloody Monday. I know we're all still recovering. Take a deep breath, everybody. We saw the stock market drop significantly. We saw crypto take a drop, but people in real estate over here laughing. I don't know how hard we should be laughing, but we are. And so I had to bring someone on because there are two great studies that came out and talked about that older men are more likely to panic sell. And then on top of that, Black people are 7 times as likely to panic sell. Man, y'all, we got to get into it. What's going on out here with us? But I said, let me bring somebody in who's witnessed some depressions, witness what we call it a recession, the great one in 2008. He's been through it. He's learned. He's built his credit up. He's back in the game. He keeps it moving. And so I said, let me bring somebody on who can educate us through these little weather storms and what we can do next. None other than Mr. DJ, the money coach. Introduce yourself to the audience, Mr. DJ.
Oh, absolutely. What's going on, everybody? Happy New Year, first and foremost. May not be some Happy New Year for some people, but for everybody else, I hope if you have your health, you have everything. I'm DJ, the money coach. And if you haven't heard my story, it's real simple. I was a person who went to college, got a college education, and actually came out and realized I had $60,000 worth of credit card debt, $20,000 worth of student loans. And on top of that, I had earned myself an amazing 525 credit score. And at the end of the day, I chose not to play the victim role and I chose to become victorious. So I basically, back in the late 90s, I actually read a book called The Road to Wealth, read one chapter on personal finance. Even though I went to school to become an accountant, I did not know about personal finance. And after reading that book, and this is in the analog days before everything was so fluid and on every app in America, and across the world, you actually had to go to the library and actually had to do real research. So I actually read a book on personal finance, one chapter in The Road to Wealth by Susie Orman. I know a lot of people don't like Susie Orman, but I'd look at it like the grocery store. Go into the store and get what you need, not what you don't need. So, if you're looking for the eggs, bacon, and milk, which is generally in the back of the store, go back there and grab it off the shelf and keep it moving. So I read that chapter. Within 12 months, my credit score rose to 700. 24 months later, I had an 800 credit score. And then I actually got rid of my debt. I didn't file bankruptcy, didn't cry Argentina because nobody stuck a gun to my head to make me fill out those credit card applications while I was in college. So I basically worked my way through, paid off all my debt the right way in 3 years. And then 3 years later, that was actually 2002, I became consumer debt free. And then in 2008, 6 years later, I actually became a 6-figure income earner and a 7-figure net worth person right at the beginning of the Great Recession. So I went on and created a course called Family Finance 101. I was asked to teach my financial education program at the state of Illinois Attorney General's Young Office for the Prosecutors. I also was asked to teach it in a variety of mega churches in Chicagoland. And then I was reached out by the YMCA, started teaching financial education across the country to the YMCA. Then I was invited to do it for the Federal Reserve. And then just recently, after sitting down with over 25,000 people, I had the honor of actually doing the financial education programs for Lightning Logistics, which is a trucking company that at the time was doing $60 million a year back in 2018. And then in 2019, I actually worked with the Montgomery Regional Airport, actually in Alabama, did all their financial education, Melvin and I, for their employees. And then also built 4 7-figure businesses. I started 12, 8 of them failed, but I don't call them failures, Ericka, because I learned from those. Like you said, in the beginning of the Great Recession, I was actually in the real estate business up in Detroit. We started a program called 3 Steps to Success. My high school friend named Clarence, who was a sales engineer for Hewlett Packard working with Ford Motor Company. And then from 2005 to 2010, we actually bought several properties in the Detroit market before everybody became all hot and, bothered about it now, which is the latest, trend. But we actually were doing it before everybody even knew Detroit even existed. So in the process of doing that, I actually owned a minority share as a primary, shareholder and operator in a mortgage banker business, not a mortgage broker business, which allowed me to actually do certain types of loans that you can't do state to state because of the federal charter I had exemption from state laws. So that allowed me to do 203 construction loans, refinance, and traditional loans from becoming the hard money lender. I actually personally became the hard money lender and actually financed about 80 houses. And on a typical $100,000 house that somebody would go out and buy at the tax lien, I will provide them with the construction loan, and then I would turn around and provide them with the hard money loan, and then I would actually provide them with the traditional refinance loan. And each one of those processes, I would make anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. So on a $100,000 house, I would make about $10,000 to $15,000 personally in my own portfolio. And the reason why I was able to do that, because I had the courage and the audacity to go get a home equity line of credit on my own property in 2006, took out $50,000 at the time. And that's another thing. Everybody's all doing home equity line of credits and how hot it is and all these experts. But again, I was doing this back in 2005 to 2000.
Before the big crash. So 2006 was what, about a good year and a half before it went crazy.
Exactly.
And that's important. You know, part of what you're talking about on there, not to interrupt you, but on that part, this guy was saying, well, people are going to be underwater in their houses. What are they going to do? I'm like, nothing. Keep living in their house. Like, you know, and people said, well, it took people from 2000 to 2014 to, I think this guy said, I think he said 2009 to recover some of those high equity prices, you know, or if people that bought in 2008 didn't recover 2014. Well, I'm like, listen, you're being in a house for 7 years isn't going to hurt you. Staying in one position isn't going to hurt you. Your house isn't your only asset, right? The way people talked in these interviews, it's like it was a liability. Folks really have to focus on using it to their advantage, right? A lot of people are taking out cash refi, and I'm telling them, please don't put it in Bitcoin, don't put it in alt investments. Try to put it in more real estate or more something long term.
It's funny you said that, because back then in 2008, the frenzy was getting gold bullions. You know, everybody was getting gold bullions, and the thing that I learned is that one thing, depending on what age you are, most people should have realized I only took a 7% hit in the market, in the stock market, when it crashed, because I went to cash. You know, I saw the market collapsing because I studied the S&L scandal back in the 80s. And these indicators are basically tell you what the future. And I think last several times been on your show, I told people that the market was going to make a major correction, which is it's starting to do right now. And one of the problems was money was easy to get back then, and people were over leveraging themselves. And like you said, they were cashing out their house and putting money into, you know, more riskier assets. And then they got caught up with the bag in their hand. Is like when you play, you know, the seat game, you know, duck, goose, and then you're the last one standing because you got in last. So what we learned from that scenario is that one of my friends, he was in commercial real estate, and he ended up having like $3.5 million of debt from being caught with the bag. And then we also had to sell back in 2010. We sold back about 15, 20 homes back to my partner Clarence on pennies on the dollar. But don't cry Argentina for us, because I didn't lose any money. I made a lot of money during that time when I started scaling back. So the little bit of losses that I had, I was still up because I had the wisdom to actually go to cash and not, you know, over leverage myself, which is a lot of these people doing, because when interest rates are low, cash is free. So people buy more than they can afford because the bank's going to give you unlimited amount of credit to hang yourself. And then when that happens, then people that have good credit and have cash right now and are stable and don't overshoot their wad, they'll actually go back and buy these properties pennies on the dollar. So that's
cash is a position.
Yeah, exactly. And what you have to do, what I would recommend people to do, like you said, older men, which is amazing to me, they're panicked to, you know, sell their portfolio real quickly, is pretty funny, because if you've got a great financial advisor and they see that the interest rates are going to start going up, because there's a saying in the financial industry, interest rate go up, stocks die. And so at that point, you should have a technical defensive strategy in place, which based on what your age is, typically, let's say if you're 50 to 60, 60 to 70, you should have about 5 to 10% of your portfolio in cash. And then you should have some type of annuity, some zero coupons to actually waive off some of these losses, because you're at the end of your accumulation phase and you're going to start using that income to live off of. So you should be using, you know, defensive strategies and technical strategies where you actually are getting a percentage of your income paid out to you through some type of annuity that's going to start maturing and start paying you out maybe 5-10% of your portfolio. And also that decreases your tax, positions as well for you not to be exposed. So right now, here's what happens. See, people are buying these stocks and they're buying these real estate properties that they can't afford. And now they're cash poor.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're panicking and they're starting to dump. So they're basically become, pigs. They're getting fried in the skillet pan right now because they were greedy.
Even in this article, it says out of the 600,000 accounts they checked out, the investors who are male over the age of 45, married, and consider themselves an excellent investment experience are more likely to freak out and dump them. And I think it's almost this kind of, as you can see, you read a lot of it. I don't know if it's just following the crowd or the age, right? That they're in their 50s and they're like, this is my retirement, but take it out and do what with it? You know what I mean? Where are they going to put this money? That's the scary part for me, is what I'm trying to understand.
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of the group think, and then it's a little bit of the scenarios that they're thinking they were going to early retire. So the panic, they see one person do it, then another person does it, and then you have the bloody Monday. It's like, oh my God. But if you look at it, and if you're not really about to start taking that, income immediately in the next 3 to 5 years, you should be listening to your advisor. It's so important to have a team around you so that they can actually, settle you down. And at the same time, when things are going extremely well, they need to give you a little bit of, humility as well. And a lot of times that doesn't happen because anybody can make it good when the good is going, when you can just be a chimpanzee, throw a dart up on the board and make a ton of money like in crypto. I laughed. I was doing a plan earlier today, and a guy, he told me, he said, hey man, I said, well, how much is your crypto worth? He said, man, it all depends. Yesterday it was worth 35. Today it's worth 50. Last week it was worth 200. I said, well, at the end of the day, you need to find the median of where it is. And then you also need to see when you're going to start taking distributions from it. So when you see this panic, these are a lot of people that are over leveraged because they got tax, problems. They got credit overextended because they're greedy. And I talk about this in my book in the ABCs of Wealth, is that if you look at the people who get caught up the most, they're usually the most greedy when times are going well. They just buy, gather, and they never think that there's going to be a stop to the madness. So when that stop happens and you're over leveraged and they're calling in those marks that you have, now you're thinking about, oh my goodness, I'm an embarrassment to my family. I don't want nobody to know. And those are people that jump out of windows and jump off of cliffs like the lemmings.
Listen, there's another part of this article where it says panic sales are not random events. It's very possible for them to identify clear trends in the data. They also found specific type of investors, such as those with less than $20,000 in their portfolio, also tend to liquidate more often. Now, I'm not stereotyping, but also from the data of 7 times more likely, African Americans are 7 times more likely. If you've got 20K in there and the market's tipping, and you're in your 50s, you probably haven't been super committed to the ideal, right? You probably have not been super invested in, like, let me make sure I keep putting money away, because to have 20K in the market and you're in your 50s, you haven't been investing that heavy. There's just no way, right? And what are you going to do with $20,000, right? That to me is a car. I mean, it's not going to do much. Especially if they're going to get penalized, right?
Oh, definitely. And see, here's another thing. They also need to know that those losses that they are jumping out of, they can only write off $3,000 in paper losses. That's the law. You know what I'm saying? So again, what the best thing for these people to do is, none of these people have assessments. I can guarantee you that they don't have assessments, because if they did, they would be doing dollar cost averaging and asset allocation. And right now, they shouldn't need that money because they had established an emergency fund. They have been contributing, even if you start late. So I'm not going to knock anybody, Ericka, that got started late and just didn't know what they didn't know. I mean, I didn't know about this stuff until I, got into my, late 20s, early 30s, to be honest with you, because I was a person that never contributed to the employee plan and everything. I wanted every dollar I got. So if you have put, 20,000 into the market and it's all the 20,000 that you have, but the first thing you want to do is, again, make sure you can afford to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay your car note, pay for your regular expenses. And then if it is a hardship, then go and take the money out and then have somebody advise you on to take it out a little bit at a time versus taking it all out at once. I always recommend people, hey, think about it twice, give yourself a few days. And after all the madness stops from one or two bad down, turns in the market, look and see if it comes back up a little bit. And then also look at the good, stocks that you have, just because the panic, look at their earnings, look at the annual reports. And then if you have the wisdom, do counterintuitive. And you're a snow skier, right? I think you snow ski, right?
Snowboard.
Well, same thing.
Skiers are snobs, but go ahead.
Right. So, well, here's my point. It's counterintuitive. When you are a skier, which I was a very avid skier, very good skier, used to go to the summits. So when I first learned how to ski and took my first ski lesson, the guy at the top of the hill, he said, hey, man, lean into the skis. And you would normally think that you're going to fall over.
Yeah.
But because of physics, you actually gain balance. And then you start to traverse the mountain and you actually stay upright. And it's the same thing in a car. So when you're about to swerve into your car goes out of control, people would tell you to, turn the opposite way. You actually turn into it.
Yeah.
Again, it's counterintuitive because the physics are just the opposite. And then this actually works in your benefit. So right now, what I'm telling them is to lean into it by doing the non-obvious. If you have, for instance, Netflix, Amazon, Robinhood, and you believe these are great stocks because you did your research when you first picked them, I'm going to lean in and buy some more right now instead of panic and take it out, unless I put all my chips into the market and I didn't have an emergency fund. I didn't pay down my debt, and I didn't get advice from people who actually are licensed professionals. And that's what you're finding right now, even with the older, 45, 50-year-old crowd. They have gotten greedy and they're not being like the millionaire next door, Ericka. So they're basically panicked and they didn't see this avalanche coming, even though the indicators were there, but they kept overbuying, taking more credit lines, getting these, credit cards with zero interest and credit lines up this, and they went and bought assets that were not, physical collateralized assets. And now they got themselves caught with their hand in the cookie jar. You know how they say how you catch a spider monkey? All you got to do is put a little bit of, peanut butter inside a little hole that when they put their hand in and try to pull it out, the hole is too big when they expound their hand. And that's what's happening right now. So what I would recommend that our people do is first, take a deep breath. Your house is not on fire. And secondly, pick up the phone and call your advisor. If you don't have an advisor, you should call somebody that has one so that they can give you perspective on where your portfolio is. Look at the annual reports, look at the earnings, and then look at your asset situation, physical or paper, and then figure out what's the next move and plan of action so that you don't end up liquidating. Because here's what's going to happen. After the Great Recession, even though it took 2013, 2014, all of those funds that collapsed by 60, 70% in 2008, 2009, a little bit of 2010, they all were back up plus 30 to 40%. And if that's only a 5-6 year window. So even if you're 50, unless you were retiring tomorrow, you could have stayed the course, win a percentage of your, assets to cash. And this is what I recommend people. If you haven't taken more than a 20, 30%, setback in your portfolio right now, I would automatically put a technical, position in my portfolio where I would go a percentage of it to cash. Maybe let's say, for instance, you got $10,000. I would actually go 10% of that right now straight to cash. And then I would at 50 to 60, I will be looking at some zero coupons. And then I would start looking at dividends that I can actually gain acquisition of. And also the core, stocks that I have in my portfolio, Ericka, that I know that our earnings are doing well, that you have read the annual reports and the just earnings that have been coming out and been announced for the last 2-3 weeks. I would double down the counterintuitive and I would buy more of them, because at 55, this market will be back up with those right choices. And then on the hard assets, I would go to liens and foreclosures, because here's what's going to happen. All of those marks are these people that over.
Oh, you're frozen on me, DJ. Talk to me. Uh-oh. Well, here's the thing. While we wait on DJ to get unfrozen.
I haven't bought.
You froze a little bit. Hold on. You froze a little bit. Okay, go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Yeah, I said, so what I would do from a real estate standpoint, I would actually position myself to buy foreclosures and tax liens. And I give you 3 guesses and two that don't count.
Stop telling my business. Stop telling my secrets.
I thought that's what you pay. I thought that's what you pay for me to come on this show for.
I know that's what I'm teaching my classes. I'm teaching my classes that we about to get it lined up. Go ahead. Oh, you froze again. You be teaching them about tax liens and auctions when you get unfrozen. But that's okay. Yeah, you're back. You're back. You're back now. You're gonna be teaching about tax liens and auctions. Go ahead and tell them.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I have not bought a retail property in over 15 years. And reason by, once I learned in 2007 how to buy real estate, at tax liens and foreclosures and the dirty little secrets in affluent communities, there's always 5 to 8% of homes that are in the foreclosure or the short sale market. When these types of situations happen, I just sit back and
Skynet won't let us be great tonight. But he's saying basically he doesn't buy off MLS.
I can easily, by the time you
wait, there you go. You're back.
Yeah, you can easily, by the time you're 60, Ericka, you can still end up having $1 million in assets by actually sitting down with a team of advisors, sitting down with a CPA, sitting down with a financial advisor who's a certified financial planner, sitting down with an attorney and a business strategist, and they can actually take your assets and show you actually to get out of the mire and look at the positive side. Because right now, the hedge fund guys, they're shorting the market and making 10 times much more money they make when the market is going up. And the same thing for real estate. Right now, make sure your credit is good. Make sure that your health is good and put a strategy together for the next 30 days, 1 year, and 3 years, and you can ride through this tumultuous market and come out on the right side with the rainbow and the pot of gold. But the first thing you got to do is those 4 dirty little words. Number 1, discipline. Number 2, accountability to a system that's proven and works based on your age and income, which you're pulling up this chart. Number 3, you have to actually plug into the system that's proven. Like you said, we've been through this. I've been through 3 catastrophic events in my life. 9/11, the Great Recession in 2008 to 2010, and the pandemic. And each time we came out on the right side because we used technical, hedging of our portfolio and our paper assets. And then we also bought real property assets at a discount because we had income and credit. And then we let the people who panic sell them off to us. So you should, again, take a deep breath, exhale, pick up the phone, get your lifeline, call your CPA, call your financial advisor. If you don't have those, then reach out to us. You can just touch us at 866-395-3042, 866-395-3042, and you can get an assessment. So I would tell you not to panic. Now, talking to the Black people that you talk about is 7 times to do that. Here's what we got to do. We got to get off the bling bling, posse train. We got to get off always going to buy the biggest house, the biggest car, and tricking out and claiming that we got assets. You got to start, crawl, walk, run, and you got to start being more wiser and start worrying about impressing people that you don't know, you don't like, and they don't like you. That's the first thing that you got to do. And then you got to surround yourself with winners, just like you, Ericka, and duplicate what they do. There's this movie called Sabrina that had Harrison Ford in it. And the actual chauffeur driver, he became a multimillionaire because his boss was like a hedge fund guy, and he just mimicked what the dude did and took copious notes when he talked to him while he was driving him to his stops.
Sabrina,
creating million dollars worth of business for his daughter Sabrina.
I want to watch that movie.
It's an amazing movie.
There's one thing. So this past week, I had one of my students help me. We found in one of the cities we were looking at, the city, sometimes the tax liens, land bank, they have leftover properties. Nobody picked them up. $400, got 3 different lots. And so I said, oh, it's a little rough on that side of town. I said, what better location to put a sign out front that we're building affordable housing for the community? What better place? And then that allows the city, that allows the nonprofits in that area, that allows several people to contact us, right? And get connected And then when you work with a builder for a cheap, I mean, I'm not saying nothing disrespectful, but like I just say, very affordable home in that area, you're still on the up and up. You got the land for $400. Tell me where you're getting land for $400 at.
Exactly. I mean,
And this is down south, so.
Yep. And also in Detroit, you got the land banks where you get property for $100. The property is adjacent to you, vacant lots, you can get it for $100 at the land bank. So these are things that right now you should stay positive and not panic. Again, you should first and foremost sit down and get an assessment of where you are, and also admit to yourself that you're not an expert in these areas, and find people that got proven track records, people who are licensed, who have experience, who have made it through catastrophic events and still got their shirt, got their hat, and have their property and their assets actually grown, not having deplenished. Now, we've taken some hits. I've taken hits just like anybody else, but I learned from those hits and I became less aggressive. And what we call conservatively aggressive. We look at the trends. Nothing that goes up stays up forever. And then we just start to modulate down to say, where is this going to actually end at? And where can I catch it? This is what Wayne Gretzky said that made him the best hockey player of all time. He said, go where the puck is going, not where it's at. And if you saw this when crypto is going through the roof, Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that, you had to know that something was going to balance out, and you should have started being counterintuitive, going against the stream. Like instance, looking at mobile homes, looking at tax liens, looking at zero coupons, and looking at annuities, looking at ETFs and index funds earlier than later. And then also you have to realize, I know a lot of people are making a boatload of money on crypto, but again, is that crypto liquid for you right now? You can eat, live, and sleep off of it right now today. That's the question. I'm not against crypto, but at the same time, if you're putting all your ducks in it, where are you going to eat if you can't actually make transactions with it every day when you need it? That's a novel concept.
Well, that's the difference between investing and saving, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I'm investing. And then they will say, well, I need to get money out of it. Well, are you investing? Are you saving, right? A lot of people are talking about how they're long in crypto, but they need to take money out of it every once in a while. Okay, then, we have to really define these terms clearly, what we're trying to do. I hate saying set it and forget it because that's not true. But when it comes to dividend stocks, I'm almost at a set it and forget it and check up on it. When it comes to Fundrise and Yield Street and Prosper, set it and forget it and check up on it. And, this whole word passive income has been abused because you do have to do some activity to get to the passive income, right? There was a post earlier today. It said where they hate when people preach you need more financial education. If you're only making $20K a year, $20K a year is hard either way, right? You need to make more money. And this is just the facts of it. You need to make more income, but also get that assessment on what to do.
And that's a great point. And always lean into people and say, what are your, 21st century digital skills that you have? Because that's what you need to be focusing on. If you're making $20,000, what are your digital skill sets that you have that can actually increase your income immediately? That's the best thing you can do for yourself, is increase your skill sets that are in high demand. Just like you always have master IT on the program. And I think right now, if I'm a person that's making $20,000, I'm going to look at what my talent is. May not be my passion, but my talent that actually can make me money. And I always love this quote by Denzel Washington in what's that movie, American Gangster. He said, sometimes you got to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. So you may not like creating digital skills, but they are needed and they're high demand. Cybersecurity, digital marketing. And if you have a propensity to play video games and you got short attention that you could be, intensely locked in for a period of time, these are some type of, techniques and traits that can make you successful in these endeavors. And you should pursue those and get certifications, because in 30 to 90 days, you can get a certification, Ericka, and you can start making $40, $50, $60 an hour while you're worrying about losing your 20,000 in the market. You can turn around and make that up with skill sets. And that's one of the problems that I have with the Black church, is that we don't teach the people in the congregation how to change into digital, programmers and skill sets. We're teaching them linear behavior. And instead of teaching them that and asking for tithing, we ought to be doing, symposiums and workshops to teach these people how to get those skill sets, if that makes sense. And then get that assessment. And as you're starting to change your skill set, start putting a little bit of money aside, put a little bit in emergency fund, put a little bit in Roth IRA. And I know your people will be like, man, that stuff is boring. But guess what? Them boring guys and girls, they ain't hollering that they stuff gonna be out on the street next week. They sitting back, calm, cool, and collected while you're panicking, selling off your stuff, and they buying it for pennies on the dollar like the swamp around.
Yeah, I mean, and the sad part is a lot of what I want people to understand is that real traders, real money makers, right? Everybody looks right now, like, how we talked about this. Everybody looks like a winner right now. Everybody looks like the best business person ever, the best stock investor ever, the best whoever. But people are real quiet on Monday, right? Because you have to actually have real skills to make money when the market is going up or down, right? And you have to actually have real skills, especially in a downturn. What I want people to understand is, even if everything goes sideways, me and DJ have skills. We can go 10. Listen, I mean, I've told this guy, we did this talk. This guy, one of my clients, I'm not going to name his name. He shouldn't, he had a heart attack. And he said he had he's like, I need to figure out something. And I said, well, let's sit down. Let's talk here. He has 2 pickup trucks. He hasn't really been driving. He has a son that's in his 20s, needs something to do. I told him, go get that son in that truck and pick up pallets. While you're sitting at home, you got a truck, is sitting there doing nothing, send him out, picking up pallets, split it with him 50-50. You can work the phone. You ain't got to lift. Use what you already got. Don't go, they're going to pay you $13 a pallet. Let's keep it simple. Send your son out to get 100 a day. They're everywhere. There's 2.5 billion pallets everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They're across the United States, and you literally cut up so many trees to make pallets. Places want them. Instead of your son sitting there, you and him like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Send him out. Go pick up some pallets. You have to think. You have to be able to sit back and think, right? And if you can't think, that's a dangerous space to be in, right? That's when people start doing real silly stuff. And so I'm glad I talked to him. I'm glad I talked to some other people. I had some clients who are like, I'm moving from New York to Florida. I'm like, great. Let's plan it out. Let's take our time. Let's do some strategy here, right? Let's get with DJ, the money coach. Let's do an assessment, right? What do we need to do before we move? Because it's real. I don't want anybody to be Johnny come lately. I don't want anybody to be like, oh man, I had to do this thing. I want you to really take your time, because having skills makes a difference, right? I told him, I said, if I had an extra truck, I'd be hiring somebody to go pick up pallets. If I had extra truck, I'd be having people to go do something off that didn't require me to physically do it, and I could just manage it. That's the basis of any business. People out here telling me they can't start a business, and I'm like, keep it simple.
It's a funny thing. First thing is their mindset. I would encourage everybody that's listening to this podcast with you, Ericka, is first and foremost, go get this book by Dr. Carol Dweck, Dweck, called The Growth Mindset. And a lot of things that we have to do. She has a PhD, and she's the preeminent teacher. It's called The New Psychology of Success. How we can learn to fulfill our potential, parenting, business, schools, and relationships. Dr. Carol S. Dweck, and this program has been out for like 15 years. And the first thing she tells you, again, counterintuitive, when you're brought up in a rote type of education program, you basically are taught that if you don't get 100s, you're a failure.
Yeah.
But in the growth mindset is that, hey, I'm doing something for the first time. How can I be excellent at it? I'd rather for me to start out the beginning of school semester with F's and I get a C at the end because I executed and developed, like you said, a skill. So that's the first thing, is develop that skill and the mindset and speaking positively what you want that actually is immutable principles of success, not all this fluff and new ageism stuff. So how do I know how to do that? Number one, assess yourself, assess your skills. Like they used to do in corporate America, was called the Briggs-Meyer, test. So take that assessment test, then take an emotional quotient test, and then find out what your physical assets are and find out what industries you're more likely to be successful in, even if you don't like doing it. And I'll give you a primary example. So my oldest daughter, she is an amazing artist, but she don't want anybody to see her art. So I told the teacher, I said, you know what, we're gonna put her art into a contest. Regardless if she don't like to do it or not, she needs to know that, hey, God's giving you this gift and he gave it to you for a reason. And you need to, maximize it until you can do the stuff you really want to do. You got to do what you got to do. And that's part of the problem with anybody. It don't matter what color, creed, ethnicity they are. They have a problem. And we are, as Americans, we have become lazy and entitled that, oh, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing it. But guess what? You'll be the first one making that call, begging for money and a handout when the stuff goes sideways because you can't put your ego aside and humble yourself. Man, I'll go out and shovel manure if I had to make six figures to keep my family, in the situation that we are accustomed to. Ain't nothing above, ain't nothing below me that I won't do to take care of my family if it's legal, ethically, and morally sound. But we could have prevented all that, Ericka, if we would have just looked at the trends. Again, go look at the history of the savings and loan scandal. Go look at the Enron scandal. Go look at the Great Recession 2008. And now look at the pandemic. And you should have been paying attention to the indicators. If you're 35 to 50 and you weren't paying attention to the indicators, shame on you. Okay.
People are on low information diets. And I was going to say, your daughter's the visionary, you're the integrator, helping her get her art out. That's what I was going to say on that one. But also, this is, let me show you the stock market, what you just said, the trend. I was going to show you the chart. Where is it at? Yeah, here it is. Here we go.
Yep.
This is what,
look at those.
There you go. Can we see it? See if I can make it bigger. Look, it says, I'm rich, I'm poor.
Yeah, they got a commercial
rich.
that does that. That's a crypto commercial going on right now. It's funny you show that. They have a guy. He's like, oh, he throws a party. I'm a millionaire. No, I'm poor. I'm a millionaire. I'm poor. And then they give another illustration. But this is right. Look at the trend. You can see here from 95 to 2000. Man, it was booming. Then all of a sudden, 2001 came right back. .com came down because we knew a lot of stuff wasn't real. From 2002 to 2008, boom, everybody was hitting it rich. 2010 came back down again. 2015, I'm rich. But again, look at the trends. So, but again, look at historically, it's 3 peaks and each peak has gotten bigger. You notice that? So traditionally, the market is always going upwards. So that first peak right around 2000, that peak in 2007 is higher. Then this third peak is higher. So it's like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest. So right now, we're basically at a stay station, and you'll be rest to believe sure that in 2025, guess what? That's going to be right back higher than it is right now today at the apex before we had this Bloody Monday. But if you don't study the research, you don't do the technical due diligence, and you don't have people around you, Ericka, that's been through it, then all these fake experts on these social media platforms, they're going to have you out in the streets, lost everything you got. Real talk.
Well, and that's the thing. What I tell people is I really want people to understand what is their thrive number, right? And thrive number is what you need to survive plus have a little to thrive on, right? Because people out here, I just did a video, I don't know if you saw it, where I said Slim Thug, which I usually am like, oh, rappers, but he did a great 18-minute video.
Oh,
if
yeah,
I can interview him, that'd be great. In Houston, we'll see if maybe if he can get you or me to interview him. He's like, you ain't got $20,000 a month. Man, you can live in a basically a millionaire house. You really can in Texas, depending on where you live, San Antonio, some of these places. And it's really the house is the foundation, right? And having a skill that keeps producing 20K a month. That's the key, right? People have totally missed that part of the equation because once you get the first couple of rental units, some people can sit down after they get 5K coming in a month from their rental units.
Exactly. Again, and that's being a great steward of debt and not taking on any debt that doesn't make you money. And if you can put yourself in a position like I have and have no discernible debt whatsoever, but it took time. It took me 12, 14 years, to establish that. And then another thing I want to share with your people is that if you want to know how you can have the affluent lifestyle for the rest of your life, whatever your age is. So if you're, 20 years of age, times that by 4, that's the income that you need to be making without no discernible debt to live a easy lifestyle for the rest of your life. Times 4. So whatever your age is, times that times 4, that's the income that you need to be earning to actually have an affluent middle professional class income in America. So if you're 30 and you have no hardly discernible debt, it's $120,000 a year. Okay. If you're 40, it's $160,000 a year. If you're 50, it's 200 grand. And the reason why is because as we get older, we accumulate assets, we have responsibilities, you have children, things of that nature. That's going to keep you above float. And with the emphasis on being debt free, that's so important, and not taking on debt that's not over leveraged, that's not making you at least 1 to 3x of what the debt that you take on in order to do the arbitrage game. And a lot of people don't understand that, because again, they're going out here trying to get something for nothing in a microwavable world, and they're trying to stay up with the Joneses on IG and all these other social platforms, and they don't realize a lot of those people are just, you know, renting and showing you stuff that
leasing
they don't
and
own.
renting. Well, the crazy part too on that is trying to explain to people how cheap some of the stuff is. Like, I looked up Dubai the other day and I was like, that's it, 150 for this room in this brand new hotel? That's it? And these people out here like, oh, these girls are doing all this and this to get to Dubai. And I'm like, no, that girl could literally have a credit card and pay $5 grand and get to Dubai.
Exactly.
You know, these people are over mystifying what, you know, Dubai. And I'm like, no, you can get there. You don't need all that. And it's so sad to have these conversations with grown adults, really. But again, get pinpointing where you are. Like, what do you need to thrive? What do you need monthly? There was a guy who said yesterday, Tim Jackson said it. He said, Gen Z are the worst employees and the best businessmen, because they just know how much they need, right? To not have to go get a job, and how to promote content online, and how to, now they suck at going in person and shaking hands. They suck at that, but they are great at promotion, putting it online, and knocking it out the door, knocking it out the park.
And you gotta build a system. I mean, you have a flawless system in what you do. That's what they don't like doing it. They want the reward without doing the work. You have to put a system in place. You have to build that pipeline. You know what I'm saying? And once you build that pipeline as a leader, you have to expect that things are going to go wrong. And like my CPA James Lane said, he said, you got to have a defensive strategy at all points in your business. You got to have a defensive strategy. Stuff goes wrong, and that's part of life. And if you put that strategy in place, you won't have to pull that emergency cord, because you already have an A, B, and C backup plan, because you put a system together, and you're looking at a 3-5 year plan versus a 3-day, 4-day, 4
Bingo. That's the best part. Listen, 3 to 5 years. Listen, Eric Coffee came on here and he had to close a business. And he was so scared. I was like, oh my God, it's like, I think he said it was like $500,000 or something to that effect. And the lady looked at him and said, so what? $500,000 divided by 30 years is what? It's like a $500 a month payment. Exactly. And you're wigging out about $500,000? Come on. Go back to what you did before, right? Government contracting, which made you $2 million a year. And so it's one of those things where people have these really extreme compressed timelines. And it's like, that's not how that works. 3 years are going to pass either way. So won't you have 3 years pass in a reasonable amount of time, and a reasonable amount of pace? You know, posting a video a day, posting a podcast every week, posting one blog a week, you know, just having an actual business that you can run and control.
It's like you said too, you have to build a relationship with your audience. They have to see you 6-7 times repeatedly. And even in the financial education and financial service business, in order for people to earn people's trust, you actually have to serve them 7 times before you actually build trust and a bond between you and them. And you also have to be real with them. You know, be truthful. Tell them where you are, where you started, where you're going. People follow people who have a plan of where they're going. You know, not just hope, but people who are direct and they're determined. They have a plan. They have a mission. That's the reason why they used to have people write mission statements. So I tell you, here's one thing that people should be doing. I don't give financial stock investing advice, because I'm not financially licensed anymore, even though I was for about 15 years. But what I'm gonna give you some general tips of what people should be doing. So from age 25 to 35, right now, if you have invested, you know, in the market, be it crypto, be it Robinhood, be it Stash, Acorn, whatever, what you should be continually do right now is like you have up here with the people. I don't know if the people are going to be able to see this, but the proper asset allocation and the proper, you know, dollar cost averaging. So if you have $100 a month, you should be continually to invest in the market. Once you had a risk tolerance questionnaire done for yourself, once you had a financial analytical report done for yourself, and when you had a financial plan, you should now do dollar cost averaging and asset allocation, and you will continue to build a foundation. Okay. And then what you should do, if you learn and you're wise about money, you should start taking an hour a week and to start reading annual reports, learn about index funds, learn about ETFs, and then learn from there how puts and calls work. By now, if you see the market going down, out of that $100, if I took 10 of them, Ericka, and I can afford to lose that 10, I would learn my chops, my skills over the next 12 to 24 months, how to actually hedge those types of investments for the 90% that I'm putting on dollar cost averaging. And then I'll learn how to make money during the volatile parts of the market. Because again, the trends are never changing. You can just look at them. Peak to peak is almost every 7 to 10 years, there's going to be a major setback. And if you can anticipate that because you follow the trends, you'll get better at it. Okay. If you're between, let's say, 50 to 65 right now, a portion of your portfolio should be statistically should be in a cash account when you start seeing these major dips, so you can hedge the actual, losses in the stocks and the dividends that you're investing in, Ericka, that are solid because you check their earnings and you looked at the annual reports. You should actually strategically be buying those as they are going down so that you can increase and reinvesting with your dividends so you can get percentage increases, multiples, when the market starts to go back up to an uptick. And then as well on the back end, when you're getting into 65, now you want to go to zero coupon, some bonds and stuff. I'm not big on bonds, but bonds work well and they're tax free. So you can actually leverage the marketplace. And then from your 66 to 80, you should be starting into the annuity phase of actually doing, what's called required minimum distributions at interest and increments that is smaller than your tax base. So if you made $100,000 a year right now, and you're in the income tax bracket of 32%, instead of taking all $8,333 a month because you paid off all your debt, you got your home paid off, your cars and stuff like that, you should start taking like minimum distributions like $2,500 to $3,500 a month that automatically drop you down into a lower tax bracket instead of taking big lump sums. And then you should have your CPA and your financial advisor having those dividends and those bonds working in a passive portfolio, so you would even pay less in taxes. That's what you should be doing. And then at that point, you should be doing succession planning. Even if you only had $1 million net worth, you should be succession planning, start transferring the assets to your children and your children's children, and you should control it where you pay limited amount of taxes, they pay kitty taxes, and you get to step up where you can actually what's called step up in basis points and actually get a tax-free transference while you're alive and control the whole asset. But again, you know what happens, Ericka? People don't do this because they don't plan it. Everybody want to be the number one expert instead of putting a team together. What we've done, just like working with you, we put a team of professionals. They got 15, 20 years, and they're specialists in the area. And here's what these people who are listening to this need to know. All accountants, all attorneys, all business coaches are not created equal. Find out what their expertise is, and if it matches with what you need to have done, then do your due diligence, see if you're a fit with them personality-wise, and then follow a plan and work it and check it every 90 days. You should have a 30-day plan, a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, and a 5-year plan, and you should be looking at where you are. Here's what I like about the playoffs in football. We start out and we want to get a Super Bowl. My team should be peaking right now. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about how you start, but find out what the peak point
what the peak is
that you need to have. Is that,
don't talk about Baltimore Ravens. Don't talk about them. It's hurting. It hurt so bad. I had the sad day. I had to root for the Cowboys, and then I had to root for the who else did I root for 1 week? The Buffalo Bills. I said, look, my picks are all bad. Y'all just don't talk to me.
But you notice, here's the thing. It was the greatest divisional playoff in the history of the NFL. But look at the teams that won and the teams that lost. The teams that won, they were actually technical defensive strategies, and they made the least amount of mistakes. They didn't necessarily outplay the other team, just like with the Bills in Kansas City. Both quarterbacks, Mahomes and Josh Allen, they were impeccable. But at the end of the game, when Josh Allen passed that touchdown and went up on Kansas City with only 13 seconds left, their special team coordinator, instead of kicking the ball out of the end zone, he might have should have squibbled the football and let some of them time tick off the off the clock once the football was touched. And this is what people say, well, yeah, it doesn't take the time off the clock until it's actually physically touched. As soon as they would have fair catched it on the ground, a couple of seconds would have went off. And then instead of going to a prevent defense, maybe they should just play their regular defense and kept them boxed in instead of open up the soft part or middle part of the field. And that's the same way you got to look at when you're taking a strategy for your paper assets. That's the same thing you got to look at when you're making a strategy for your real estate. And then most importantly, them skill sets that you need to develop that are going to be transformational type of skills that you can never have to worry about earning an income. Because even if I lost everything I got, the passive income, the real estate, everything, like you said, Ericka, you and I, we have skill sets that will last us a lifetime. And this is what Ford said. You can take all my billions away. In 5 years, I have him back 2 times fold because I know the right people, the right team, and the right calls to make.
And the steps to do it all over again. You know, what's funny is I think it was Grant Cardone when he, I think it was the first recession, and he was out there going city to city doing these little conferences, right? Like 100 people a room, 100 times selling programs. And then he started figuring out, well, I can record these videos and put them on where? YouTube. I can start recording these DVD packages and all this other stuff and just 10x. And so what people understand is you got natural talent. You can solve problems for people. You can get literally in your car and go city to city putting on events. And now with the power of the internet, man, Eventbrite, $5 a person. I'll solve your business problems today. I'll help you market today, right? And it's like you literally could do that every week. Every week you could do 2-3 shows a week, and just be solving problems and getting paid for it. Exactly. I don't know if you realize, but I took off 51-day vacation. And I said, all right, y'all, I'm gone. I'm out of here. And I'm giving so much value on my lives. You know how I know? As soon as I haven't done the lives, I literally got 22 consultations paid. And my prices aren't on sale. They're $500 right now, $1,000 for an hour. 22. I literally was like, and Ericka said, do you want me to close it? Do you want to turn around? I said, no. People know we're giving $1,000 an hour value. We're literally giving it away on lives every night, answering questions, helping build people's businesses up. And we know that's what we're doing. So the value's out there. When people really want a solution, they'll pay for it. When people really want to get something done, they'll pay for it. Trust me. I think I told you over Black Friday, I had something priced for $5,000. People were like, man, get out of here. Ain't nobody paying that. Woke up the next day, 10 people paid it. So people have to understand this computer is powerful. This internet's powerful. If you can solve problems, you can help people market their business. You in this, man. You in here. So I want y'all to really take advantage of what DJ have to offer. I want y'all to get an assessment. Figure out where you're starting at. Hold up that book, ABCs of Wealth, because people harass me every time in the comments. Because you bring the book and then they tell me, where can I get it? It ain't on Amazon. It's not on Amazon.
No, baby, I'm not giving Amazon 30% of my money. I'm sorry.
You have to go through DJ the Money Coach to get this book.
That's
okay.
Right. DJThemoneycoach.com or Nick at DJThemoneycoach.com. And it's funny you say that, Ericka. I mean, we have, my goodness, I think we did like 60 assessments that were purchased just automatically, like you said, because here's what the deal is. People see you as a person that's a pioneer, that they've seen you building your platform for the last 7 years. And the entrepreneur things that we take as for a given, they're not, given or normal for the people you talk to. So I'm always surprised. I talked to a young lady and she had accounting practice, and I just told her, hey, what's your demographic market? What's your hedgehog concept that makes you different from other people in the accounting practice, which is, saturated? And she couldn't tell me. And then I gave her a couple of tips and it blew her away. And she was like, oh man, I can go get business now. And she said, how'd you think about it? I said, well, I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't get a pension. I don't get a 401k from somebody. I don't get an hourly wage from somebody. If you and I spend 100 hours and we don't kill anything, we don't eat. So these things are skills that have been developed. Here's another book I would recommend our audience get. It's called Talent is Overrated. Talent is overrated. And it talks about the 10,000, deliberate hours to hone a high level skill that puts you in the top 1% of earners in any type of industry, from technology to sports to entertainment. If you put those 10,000 predictable hours into place, you'll have a skill set that will never leave you broke on the planet. In regards to the assessment, here's what we do for your people and our people. Number one, we do a risk tolerance questionnaire for you. Because if you are investing with a professional or institution that you work for, they give you a 401k, a TPS, a 403b, a whatever, a tax deferred vehicle, they're legally supposed to give you a risk tolerance questionnaire, but they get an exemption because it's a group policy like group health insurance. So if you don't do that, you are losing, okay? Because in this market, there's 5 types of investors. There's conservative, income, moderate, growth, and aggressive. You need to know which one you are so that you can allocate asset allocation, dollar cost average, and hedge your losses where you don't lose everything, where you only use 5 to 7% versus 50%. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is get a financial analytical report, like going to the doctor, Ericka. It's like going to see your general practitioner and he or she give you a series of tests, check your blood, your pressure, your height, your weight, your BPI, and then he refers you to the specialist, the orthopedic surgeon, the pulmonologist, etc. So what this does is determine, hey, do I have a will, a trust, an emergency fund? What's my debt? When do I pay it off? Do you know these? How much am I spending every week when I go out here like Tim talked about, where he just spent $30 a day and turned out he realized he was spending $900 a month, which was basically $11,000 a year, and that was stealing all his money. So when you have people do that, here's the funny thing. I had a actual CPA do that, and she hadn't done it in a while, and she was shocked that she was spending $300 a week on stuff. And she said, just because of that, Ericka, my assessment was worth her investment just to realize what she was wasting her money on.
Listen, I know Amazon wearing me out. I go home, I be having packages show. I'm like, when did I order this? I have to put myself on restriction. I pull out, what I do is I go pull out that bank statement, the paper copy,
budget,
and look at it.
Budget sheet, Ericka. So they fill out a budget and they do a survey, and then we talk. And like you said, I charge $500 for a half an hour, the one-on-ones, and in corporate America, I get anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 to do this. And we give it away for less than $200. You actually get to talk to me one-on-one for 15 minutes, ask me 3 financial questions after you have filled out the budget sheet and the survey and figure out what assets you have, assets you want, what rate of return. Do you need cash flow now? Or do you need, appreciation? Do you need this return? Do you have this amount of emergency fund? People don't do that. That's basic stuff that they need to assess themselves. So we do that for them, Ericka. And then we give them a roadmap of what they need to do with those 3 financial questions that they are wanting to thrive at. It could be open up a business, become a real estate investor, even doing charities. I show them exactly step-by-step to do that. And then I give them a free complimentary consultation with either my CPA, James Lane, or your main man, Melvin Hobson, the 6'7", lovable giant, and get them right like rain. And all of that will have you set up for the next 12 months. If all you did was 4 dirty little words. Number 1, discipline. Number 2, accountability. Number 3, plug into a proven system. And number 4, put your head down, put that work in. And that way you will never be panicked. And then you will expect when things are going the wrong way because you have an A, B, and C plan in place. And now you can let all the other lemmies fall off the cliff while you just stay cool and you go pick up their, resources and their assets because they didn't plan. There's a saying, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan.
Facts. Love it. You guys, good as usual. Thank you so much, DJ. And where's the link they can go ahead and grab the next webinar?
Yeah, so the master training that's coming up, we actually have a link that Nick sent you. It's actually going to be February. Let me tell you real quick. And our last one was sold out. So you got to get in, and we give the first 10 people to jump on. It's going to be February 9th. February 9th is our next master training. It's going to be a 2-hour session. It's going to go over paper assets. It's going to go over business structure, how to start businesses, and actually it's going to go over real estate acquisitions as well. And it'll give you a debt freedom program, and it's all included in this program special. It's called Back to the Basics. February 9th, the first 10 people actually get an extra complimentary consultation with Melvin or my CPA for the first 10 people that register in the next 24 to 24 hours. It's just that simple. All they gotta do is hit that link that Nick sent you, and you'll rock and roll with us on February 9th for the master training. And I guarantee you, if you do everything in it, it'll be more than what you invested. And if you do everything and it doesn't work, if you do everything, I'll give you your money back. Just that pure and simple. That's how we roll. And it's in the link right below that Ericka has. And you can find us at nick@djthemoneycoach.com, or you can call our toll-free number at 866-395-3042 and come join hundreds of people that have been joining our programs and see all the amazing testimonials from nurses to doctors to business owners to teachers to, sports, athletes that we work with on a regular basis. And they all look like you and I. We're excited. 2022 is off to an amazing start. And with the market going down, we're excited because we're buying stuff on sale because we're executing our plan that we had in place for the last 5 years. And we modify it every 90 days, Ericka, like a smart business person does.
Facts.
Treat your person.
Reassess where you are.
Exactly. Treat your personal house like a business, and your business will always secure your house. That's a fact. Then you know what we say. We want you to have that pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind, and come join us on the beaches of the World Club, because me and Ericka are going to be partying it up in the next 35 days.
All right, you guys, listen. 2 of the books he named was Talent is Overrated, Growth Mindset, and the third is ABC to Wealth. You can only get it from DJ the Money Coach. Now, listen, you guys, make sure you check the links out in the below and also in the description, and also we'll email our email list. We have over 15,000 people on the Classy Climb email list. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and we'll see you later. All right.